Hello, my name is Stephanie Allen Christ. Welcome to my presentation, Nothing About Us Without Us, which I have prepared for my Administrative Ethics class with Rutgers University. First, I will start with a little bit of history. As a society, we have housed people with disabilities in institutions where they were imprisoned for the crime of being different. People with disabilities housed in these institutions were subjected to scientific experiments requiring human trials without their permission, but with government approval. These people were also beaten, raped, and tortured, sometimes as treatment, but often as the result of the jailer-prisoner dynamic. Luckily, things have changed. People with disabilities now fight for equal pay, equal access, and equal opportunity. People with disabilities are severely underemployed and tend to earn significantly less than non-disabled employees, and this discrepancy is sometimes supported by the law. People with disabilities have limited access to public buildings, public spaces, and public systems despite equal access legislation. Why? People without disabilities make decisions for people with disabilities, often basing their decisions on the medical model of disability. According to the medical model, people with disabilities are broken, and it's our job to fix them. People with disabilities are problems the powers that be try to solve. On the other hand, people with disabilities often make decisions about their own lives based on the social model of disability, which they use to improve their access, opportunity, and success in society by changing the system structures and organizations that exclude them. This is the difference Nothing About Us Without Us can make in public policy. James I. Charlton is a disability rights activist and the executive vice president of Chicago's Access Living. He is also the author of Nothing About Us Without Us, which provides a theoretical overview of disability oppression that shows its similarities to and differences from racism, sexism, and colonialism. We have seen women and minorities rise up against social oppression to take their place in society. For several decades, people with disabilities have tried to do the same. Now, many disability rights activists and advocates gather under the banner of Nothing About Us Without Us, a call for inclusion, representation, and self-determination. This is a growing movement. Nothing About Us Without Us has been used by the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, the Colorado Cross Disability Coalition, and many others, including David Werner, who is developing innovative technologies for, by, and with disabled persons. In order to make the connection between Nothing About Us Without Us and our work as administrators, I will turn to Alberto Ramos, who says we live in a market-dominated social reality. This market-dominated social reality described by Ramos parallels the difference between the medical model and the social model of disability. According to Ramos, we have organizations and systems that have basically taken over, excluding the interests of individuals. This is nowhere clearer than when considering people with disabilities. People with disabilities are basically people who have physical, mental, or emotional differences that interfere with daily living skills. Because of these differences, people with disabilities are not easily standardized and, like many disadvantaged groups, tend to have perspectives that clash with the status quo. From the perspective of these systems, people with disabilities represent difference, dissonance, turbulence, and change within our systems. And our systems and our organizations and our very culture resist this change. People with disabilities don't fit within the market that people without disabilities have created for themselves. To make a place for people with disabilities, we have to include them in the decision-making process. As we have studied the first ethical step, we turn to Cooper, Terry Cooper, the author of The Responsible Administrator, who says, ethics takes what is given or prescribed and asks what is meant and why. You see, it's not enough to follow the rules. When the Constitution was written, we didn't recognize the equality of women and minorities. We do now. When the Constitution was written, we did not recognize the equality of people with disabilities. We still don't, but we should. So, when considering the rules we are asked to follow, we must ask ourselves what is meant and why. It comes down to, what do we believe? According to Cooper, an ethical principle is a statement concerning the conduct or state of being that is required for the fulfillment of a value. It explicitly links a value with a general mode of action. Now, if we look to what we say, we know we believe in equal rights, equal opportunity, justice for all, and representative government. But if we look to what we do, if we look to the general mode of action that we follow, we believe in standardized, normalized systems. So what do you really believe? What principles will you live by? We have recently learned in our studies that tolerance is culpability. If you tolerate injustice, if you allow people to be excluded, if you perpetuate through inaction the unjust precedents of the past, then you are responsible. You are part of the problem. Cooper put it this way: we may not have personally engaged in an act, but may have made it possible for someone else to do so. We may not have been directly involved, but may not have done anything to prevent the act. We may not have been able to prevent the act, but may have done nothing to expose the actors or to attempt to mitigate the damage incurred by individual victims or society. Edmund Burke put it a little more succinctly: the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. So what's an administrator to do? According to Cooper, responsible administrators must be ethically sophisticated enough to reason with others about the ways in which their conduct serves the public interest and have sufficient clarity about their own professional ethical commitments to maintain integrity and a sense of self-esteem. As an administrator, can you justify making decisions about people with disabilities without their input? Can you justify choosing to pass over a person with a disability for employment or advancement because their disability would be an inconvenience? Can you justify maintaining the social bias against people with disabilities as being less than people without disabilities? What are they? Less human? Less free, or simply having lesser rights? Can you justify maintaining the social oppression that keeps people with disabilities in their place, a place determined by people without disabilities? We are called to move towards social equity. According to Cooper, moreover, the administrator will increasingly need to be attuned to changing societal trends. Instead of administering according to precedent, the responsible administrator today works according to anticipation. As a public administrator, you will have an opportunity to make decisions that reflect the precedents of everything about us without us, or to make decisions that anticipate nothing about us without us. According to Fredrickson, such change should be directed toward social equity. What will you choose? So what will you do? If democracy, according to Cooper, if democracy is to be maintained and free society is to prevail, social control must finally be rooted within individuals in the form of a deep awareness of their own values, needs, and aspirations, and also an awareness of how their values, needs, and aspirations are related to those of other people. So do you value equality or equity? People or processes? Justice or standards? Perhaps the ultimate question is, how would you want to be treated if you had a disability? How will you treat the people with disabilities that you encounter? Thank you.